I'm Shane Nyland, and my co host is Blake Musser. And these stories you're about to hear are from Weapons Company, 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines, 1st Marine Division, about the events surrounding and directly from the mouths of the people who were in Ramadi 2004. All right, let's tell everybody who you are.
Paul Hess, let's see, 2004 was ranked PFC or Lance Corporal, both.
Okay.
Combat promotion?
Say that again?
I said, was that a combat promotion?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Nice.
And then map 1?
Nice. And if I remember correctly, you were an 0352, right?
Yep. I think map 1 had about 5, 6, something like that.
Yeah. It's important we get more tow gunners on here because there's too many mortarmen. So. All right,
were you ever up in the gun with the or were you all dismount?
I was a driver for Crawford, our platoon commander.
Oh, nice.
So a lot of the tow gunners ended up being drivers because one, the driver training and SOI, and then because there was a 240 and a tow on top of the Humvees, a lot of the times it was machine gunners up there versus a tow gunner. You know, I know in your platoon you had Mosey. Mosey was a tow gunner, so that was a opposite. You know, and maybe we did, but yeah, no. So I drove and did a little bit of dismounting. Something you guys said a little bit ago. Someone asked me just the other day, it was literally 2 or 3 days ago, and I better tell it now or I'll forget. But they asked me, they said, when did you know, or like, when did it feel like it was like, holy shit, like things have just gotten real? And for me, when it really set in, like, hey, this is really happening. Like this, like, there's no turning back, was leaving Kuwait in the, what was it, the 150 vehicle convoy. And, you know, Crawford and I, we were the lead vehicle of that 100 and
oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
And but yeah, just crossing that line and going into Iraq and seeing random camel out in the desert, it was kind of like, well, all right, it's real now. Like everything that you can imagine, like your imagination really started to work at that point.
So was there any extra pressure knowing that you were the lead vehicle of that long convoy, and if you took a wrong turn, we were going to end up in the wrong spot, or were you just focused on the road?
Yeah, no, I didn't really, I don't think it was pressure, right? Because, you know, you got a lot of firepower. But what I do remember, though, worse than any type of pressure or anything, do you guys remember when we pulled off for like the last like piss ship break, and there were like those like 20 porta-johns in the middle of the desert, and the poo was like above the seat. They were so full of poop and flies. You know, like you had to hover, and we still on the thread message about that. Do you guys remember that?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I also remember when we killed our honeypot man when we were actually in Ramadi, and the same thing happened later on.
Yep.
When we were in at Hurricane Point, and it was like almost 2+ weeks before the honeypot man came to clean out the porta shitters. And
that's kind of like when we lost the one guy that would bring all the Haji porn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Same thing. Gutty Mararki swore he saw him pacing off the camp, that he was like taking steps and counting. And so they wouldn't let him back on. And then we'd eventually, like 2 weeks later, end up killing him in a raid. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I thought I heard that he died. So okay. At first, I thought you were going to say no, he just wasn't allowed back on. But okay,
Nope. No, no.
Nope.
confirmed.
Yeah. Yeah.
um. Yeah. So no, that stuck out in that conversation the other day. Um. Something that's a little bit unique about myself, and I think there were probably a couple others in the company. But I actually had my undergraduate degree when I joined. So
Oh, really?
yeah, I didn't come in at 18. I came in at like 21
Mhm.
and got my bachelor's in accounting. And yeah, so, and when you asked the question about the convoy, that was the other part that I think, I don't know. I think, some of like just, a couple extra years, I don't know. So, with that age and my buddies, uh, the guys really liked that 4 years, the legal, the beer,
Yeah. 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 You were the hookup. Yeah.
yep, yep. So that was always fun. Um, yeah, which way you guys want to go? What's a good direction from here?
Well, let's dial it back a touch. When did you come to the unit? I feel like you came pretty late as far as I can remember, but I
Yeah,
don't have an
yeah,
exact date in my mind.
yeah. So that would have been just the turn. It was literally 30 days before we deployed.
Okay. So you came
Okay.
in January?
Yeah, yeah, because I joined in late July, 3 months of boot camp, and then SOI. The funny thing is, they flew 150 of us to K Bay, and so we're all excited. We're like, "Yes, we got Hawaii as our duty station." And then 3 days later, they get us all together, and they said, "We didn't know you were coming. We don't have room for you," and so they shipped us off to Pendleton. And then 30 days later, off we went. So we were definitely green. And here's a good story for you with linking up with the unit. I think it was the very first night at Pendleton with weapons. Um, so of those 150 guys, the five newbies that joined Map One would have been myself, would have been List, would have been Cackley,
Yeah.
Okay.
Stevens,
Uh,
and Silvera Terry.
Nice.
So, for
oh man, I haven't
example,
thought about it.
map two would have been Calais,
Hmm.
would have been Moselle, and I'm drawing some blanks if you guys got any of the
Let's see. Homewood,
yep, Homewood,
uh,
and then
Haradsky, Aldready.
okay, yep. Um yeah, and the interesting okay, so what of even the five that I named, including myself and map one, four of us were tow gunners,
Yeah.
and one was Cackley was a machine gunner.
Yeah.
Um, but that first night with the unit, do you guys remember Sergeant Santiago?
Oh yeah.
Of course.
Yes, so he would have been platoon sergeant. He pulls us underneath the stairwell, the five of us, and it's dark, and he's like, "Listen here, you motherfuckers. One of you's not coming back." He's like, "So you better get locked on because one of you motherfuckers isn't coming back." He was trying to scare us straight to get locked on.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Um, yeah, so yeah, January. And you guys not too long prior had gotten back from cold weather training, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We went to Bridgeport. Yeah, that was terrible. And everybody was sick and a couple people almost died and all kinds of stuff. That was a pretty awful training op and ended up being not very useful, but it was interesting nonetheless.
Yeah. Yeah, something else that sticks out with linking up right before we're taking off is, what each platoon sent off someone to do like linguistic school.
Yeah.
And so for like map one, that would have been Kern. And Kern actually excuse me, was in my Humvee, sat right behind me. So it was always kind of funny hearing stories from him about that stuff. But I can remember him coming back and trying to educate the rest of us on like MC and the
Right.
random
Right.
basics.
Yeah,
Wide.
yeah.
One by one, one by one.
The 5 words you get to learn.
Yes, yes, yeah.
And the hand gestures.
Who was the other linguist that can you guys remember? Like,
It was me. I got sent. I was sent over.
Hersher
Oh
went.
man, Hersher went.
Yep. We had Cohen, who already spoke Hebrew and didn't even finish that Arabic training, but he went to it. And then I don't remember who else. There was somebody from Map 3, but I don't know who
Yeah,
it was.
there wasn't. There was. I think there was one or two from each platoon. It wasn't that many. It was a bigger class, but it wasn't that many. We carpooled over there in only a few vehicles, and so that sucked. That was the first time in my entire life that I got tension headaches from thinking for as long as I did, because I didn't try in high school ever. So I think that was the most studying that I had ever done in my entire. So I was like, oh man, thinking actually hurts.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So linking up with the unit, another memory that sticks out. I feel like it was either the day we arrived or it was like the next day. It was early. And I remember being up above the basketball courts right there. I believe map 2 is where you guys were at. And I remember, wasn't it Matroka that would play guitar?
Oh, yeah.
And then I also remember Hodges, and the two of them were just letting loose. And I mean, they were, talking smack to us, fresh meat. But it was funny. It was like, I just remember thinking, man, this is going to be interesting. We got some characters, like, yeah, I know at the 2 reunions running into Hodges, man, you're always going to be laughing your ass off when you see Hodges.
Weapons Company was not short of personality, that is for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, so that's some of the big memories that sticks out from the initial linking up with the unit.
And so, did you show up after March Air Force Base?
No, we went up there.
I was going to say, I thought I remember you going. I think I remember you being at March, and we trained together a little, not much.
Yeah, no, that I actually thought, and maybe this is just because we were brand new to the unit, right? But I actually thought that was halfway decent training.
Yeah. Yeah, it was all right. It didn't end up this is just my personal critique. I don't know that it actually reflects anything. It didn't end up being as useful as we thought, just specifically for what we ran into in Ramadi.
Yeah.
But the quality of the training, that was some of the higher quality of training that we had received to that point. The other example of something we did that was very similar to that was, and you weren't in at that time, this was a few years before you got there, but in 2001, right after 9/11 happened, there was something called Operation Noble Eagle. And out of nowhere appeared all of these domestic riot control training experts, largely from embassy duty. And they came and trained us how to like deal with civilian populace and how to do operations in urban terrain that way. And it was very similar to that March Air Force Base training. And that was also some of the best damn training I ever did. And then everything in between was piecemeal put together and usually designed by some random sergeant. But
yeah, and maybe that's why I remember it that way, is because, like you said, a lot of trainings just felt sort of Mod Podge thrown together, but like,
yeah.
And we were such sponges. We had to just soak up as much as we could in 30 days. And I just remember thinking, walking away, taking a lot. But here's another story that really sticks out. That it's one of the biggest memories that sticks with me. Like thinking about the 4 years, and it's linking up with the unit. But we were down at the armory and probably doing weapons maintenance. Right, got all the weapons out on the tables. And like we still don't know anybody yet, and we're kind of learning people. And at one of the tables leading things up was oh man, this is bad.
It's been 20 years. It's okay if you don't remember.
Map three, Conti,
Condi.
Conde.
Yeah.
And so, he was running this, running something on basically showing us how to speed load magazine, M16
Nice.
magazine.
Yeah.
And, so of course, meeting his parents and just, losing him, and just seeing like, man, he was a good teacher. Like, and he had the enthusiasm.
Yep.
And that just, that day always, I believed it, right? Like there were a lot of people that came that you crossed paths with that like you didn't believe it, but with him, first time he ever opened his mouth, he was just somebody I believed.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one still, like cuts a little bit thinking about him.
100%.
I feel like you asked earlier, how many people have we interviewed up to this point? And I think it's about 30, somewhere around there. Almost everybody, not everybody, but almost everybody has that same story where they learn something from Ken Conde. It's interesting that, and you weren't even in his platoon, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You know, that he was just, and there's somebody else was talking about it from mortars, that he pulled guys aside and was just doing weapons handling drills, and they were clearing rooms and stuff like, different things.
yeah,
It's very, very interesting. How much he really went through the whole company and trained everybody in one
yeah.
way or another.
And in life, oftentimes in life you come across folks that you're like, man, they're just trying too hard. And like I never got that from him. It
Oh
it
no.
all felt genuine. It
Yep.
didn't feel like he was just trying to get a check in the box, right? It just all felt genuine.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
100%.
So moving forward, platoons, we split platoons late. Like it was literally, I think, a week or two before we deployed, and we divided everybody up. Some people went map 3, and then map 2 and map 1 was the big division, which felt so weird to me. Almost most of your platoon I was with the entire 3 years prior to that, and then all of a sudden, poof, they're gone. Like
And
me.
not having that history and just being fresh, like, my lens, now that you say that, you could definitely, being new, you could pick up on a little bit of tension of like things just got scrambled and it's like everything's happening so fast.
Yep.
And yeah, like it was, not to cut you off, but it was, from my lens, it was really interesting to see like, whoa, something's happening here. And like, we don't have the history of it, but yeah, I'm interested to hear more about that.
Yeah, well, I'm not trying to hijack your story. I'm in the middle of me telling mine, but it was abrupt. Just to give you an idea, literally every experience you can imagine in the Marine Corps, I was right side by side with Garcia, Pacheco, and then later Solis. I mean, I can't think of a memory that I had, and Pryor would be the other one. Uh, in Cat Platoon and early, like we were boots together. We all dropped on the same day. Pacheco was also a tow gunner. So was Garcia. Me and Garcia were literally side by side every single day in infantry school, from the 0311 training all the way up through the 52 training. We went to Humvee school together. We were a driver and driver together at Humvee school. So for that all of a sudden to be like, nope, 50% of the people you've counted on for 3 years, poof, they're gone. It was weird. I mean, I had plenty of good friends in map 2. It's not like that was a huge loss. I had Harden and I had Jordan and I had all these people that I already knew. But it's real strange to watch half my platoon go away after being on Okinawa for a year with all these people and everything else.
And I think that in itself is one little bit of like foreshadowing of like, the recipes there for stuff that happened that like, right? Like sometimes when you have to, do a major 180,
Yeah.
right? There's a recipe there. And I've never quite thought about it like that until just now hearing you, talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then moving forward to your story, yeah, you guys all organized together and then went to Kuwait. Do you remember getting over to Kuwait?
I do. I do. Was it only 2 weeks or so? What was that window like before we pushed out, or was it a little bit longer?
So I'll tell you my timeline. I'm not exactly sure. Sounds like you led the second convoy. I was the first vehicle in the first convoy, and that was we left California February 16th. We got, as you know pretty well, we got delayed in New Jersey for a couple of days. We got
Yeah.
delayed in Germany for several days while they had to find parts, which was difficult. There was a couple in between stops also in between those. And then we were in Kuwait until March 6th was when my convoy crossed. And I think you guys crossed the same day, just a different time.
Okay. Um, yeah, I remember thinking at Ramstein, like, anytime you go to another base, especially another branch, it's like chow, right? Like, go
Yeah.
chow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember playing ping pong for like, what, 3 days in Germany.
That's funny. Half my platoon was sick. They got some random mystery illness. And so we were trying to figure out if we were going to be admitting our people to the hospital because a couple of them couldn't keep food or water down. So
Jeez. Yeah.
that was what I did for 3 days.
I remember a couple of weeks or however long it was in Kuwait, training, right? I remember just, running, going for platoon runs and just anything that they could try to prep you. I kind of remember just buying time, right? Like, it's like, all right, when are we going to get moving?
Yeah. Do you remember picking up gear and getting your trucks?
That's fuzzy. I do remember once we pushed. Here's a random memory. Remember, didn't we have a long stop where we slept over somewhere like underneath, like right there beside the vehicles on like big rocks, right? Like big,
Mm-hmm.
almost like railroad rocks.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's funny. I wish I knew the official account. And we've talked about this a couple of times, me and Blake have. We definitely stopped for a long extended period. I don't know if it was just fueling 150 whatever vehicles took that long
Yeah.
or if we were actually there overnight and slept, but I know we were there for a very long time. And it was a place called Scania. Scania is actually the name of a trucking company, but they called it Outpost Scania. And and that's where we stopped. And the civilian workers that were there came out and brought us like weird treats. Like I don't remember what they were, but some kind of pastry and
Yeah.
sodas and Gatorades.
Yeah.
My memory is that it was a little bit more of a planned stop because I remember getting word that we could rack out a little bit.
Right. Well, that's, I
Like
mean,
it was,
I wonder if the idea was actually to sleep or if it was, because it's, again, if you look on a map, if you drove straight from Kuwait to Ramadi, it would take you 6 to 8 hours, even if you
Okay.
drove slow. But I know we were driving 7 tons in those log trucks, and we had, the Hemmets, and we had a couple of, a million Humvees. So, however long that stuff takes to fuel up, I imagine it takes a long time.
Man, I do remember just looking in the rear view mirror driving, and it's just as long as you can see this line of military vehicles. It was just like,
Yeah.
that's still etched in my memory.
do you remember by any chance, do you remember when you crossed the LOD? Like was it early in the morning also?
That sounds about right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But you don't remember
Yeah.
what day you maybe crossed?
No, that's all blurry.
That's okay. I was just curious. For whatever reason, the exact dates seem to be elusive for us on on the details of
Yeah. Yeah. No,
how everyone got up to Ramadi. Like we've pieced together quite a bit, but there's still there's still enough questions. So that's all
yeah.
good. It's all good.
Um, and then you had, like the pissing in the bottles, right? Like on those long convoys.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah. Has anyone brought up yet that pace in map one was the king of just made it easy. It was just, you know, filling up a bottle was nothing for him. He had it on lockdown.
No,
No, I didn't know that was this particular
No.
skill of his.
all I remember at Pace is that he was naked all the time. That's all I remember.
That's right. Oh man. All right. What's another good segue timeline that
Well, how about
that's
pulling up into Ramadi? I mean, for some people, that's a pretty specific memory, rolling in and seeing the
Yeah.
arches. And did you have any first like impressions of either Ramadi coming in, the marketplace, Hurricane Point?
I remember coming up Michigan, and it's like you're just IED, right? You're like, oh, you're kind of hyper aware and like just looking and looking. And yeah, I remember the arches, and then for sure it'd be the souk, right? Or the marketplace. And man, I remember before we ever left, when during one of the meetings, the big company or battalion meetings down on the basketball courts, and they were talking about, it was almost like a slideshow giving us statistics. And, I remember them saying that, what was it, like a 400,000 population. And man, that's when it set in that like, yeah, no, that number's accurate when you pull up to the marketplace.
Yeah.
And you just see all these people, and then you come to a screeching halt, and it's like, how are we going to get through this? And did we just not become a major target?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I always thought it was wild right in front of Hurricane Point, right? Like the big circle, and that was always a unique. So that stuck out.
It's funny. You're the first person to mention that, but I do remember that being so weird to me as well. That the second you pop out of our gate, there's a roundabout,
A big one too.
I mean, I guess it prevents anybody from just charging straight in, but it drove me nuts having to drive out into that roundabout every time.
Yeah, because while it may have been helpful to like slow traffic, the way I remember that wall and the entry point being recessed, it also probably created some type of blind spot, right?
100%.
That like you couldn't
Absolutely.
if the bridges missed something coming across, you kind of got this blind spot. So yeah, that was definitely a unique sort of entry point.
Yeah, we couldn't burst. I do remember having conversations even at the time that we called it, at least with our group, we were called it bursting, but you couldn't burst out.
Yeah.
Appropriately. You had to navigate. You had to navigate so much stuff, and
like you had to kind of fight traffic to get. If you were trying to haul ass on QRF, it was kind of like, it just, you weren't isolated and balls to the wall were gone. It's kind of like a shit show of getting out of there.
Yeah, some guy on the lead truck has to whip a water bottle at somebody to get them to stop in traffic because they're just not. They didn't look, right? They were just driving straight ahead. They don't look. You're like, hey man, we're here. We gotta go.
I've never really completely thought about it until just now, but you're right, because that was a major intersection point, because there was people coming across Southbridge,
heavy traffic,
and Northbridge, and coming through the main artery for Ramadi.
Major vessels right there.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good logistical spot from tactically for a stronghold, but that was awful getting out of there.
Yeah,
definitely. And it would not have taken much to shut down that entry point. There was no other way to get out of Hurricane Point. There was no second access. So
Yep.
I never thought about that too, but you're right.
We didn't have boats, right? We didn't.
No.
Well, that's what the U-tow gunners are for. Get about 3 of them and hit the wall, and we'll make another.
Yeah, make a new hole. Yeah.
What's another good timeline piece to keep moving along here?
Well, we did a little left seat, right seats with our handoff folks, which were pretty short, just a couple of days. And then not long after that, we started running some first missions. You remember any first missions?
Yeah, like, man, I kind of forgot about the the transition with what was there that Army units what
So
was there?
the main group that we had there was a National Guard unit from Florida. That's why it was called Hurricane Point. They were nicknamed the Hurricanes.
Okay.
There was a secondary Ranger unit that was also had left a little more than a squad, like a squad reinforced out at Combat Outpost, but they had come by Hurricane Point as well.
Gosh, man, that's wild thinking. First few missions. It's funny how so much is blurry, right? Like it's like you're good friends that you've had your whole life. It's like you remember stories they don't, and vice
Right.
versa, and you
Yeah.
piece stories together. It's kind of
It's
like
called memory sharing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, to help you out a little bit, so those first couple early phase missions was a lot of us getting to know the town, because the left seat, right seat that we got was just basically zipping Michigan. And so each of the platoons took it upon themselves to just really get a lay of the land. And so those first several weeks, we were still doing SASO operations. So it was a lot of schools and hospitals and soccer balls and stuff like that. But it was us just getting to know the streets, just as a framing for your point.
And wasn't is this accurate? I feel like I'm remembering folks saying that the units before us, they balls to the wall. They never slowed down. They were trying their hardest to avoid any type of
Correct.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I-
That part sticks out. So have you had any of map one talk about Lieutenant Crawford's strategy was we never took direct routes. So, a lot of left, right. Like he spent a lot of time trying to create routes that the opposition, wouldn't expect. And it was funny because, it drove everyone nuts, right? we're all like, let's just get there. Why are we, this, that, and the other? So that sticks out, that I think that was pretty much right out of the gate. And my gut almost says that, because what are you guys hearing as far as how soon we started to see IEDs and
Well, let's see.
I mean,
I'll give you some dates that'll help. Right before April. Obviously, April's a big turning point for everything for us. But just before April, probably the first IED that happened was with the log train. It was a week after we were there. The first injury from an IED, major injury, was March 13th. So just to give you an idea, we arrived in Ramadi the 7th or 8th, depending on who you were. The first big injury was McPherson from the line companies. He got his jaw blown off. I'm sure you probably remember that story from an IED. From weapons company specifically, our first minor wounding, I think, was me and my truck on the 18th when we went out to go do a raid. And then the first major wounding was when Worth got wounded by the bike IED on March 20th. The first thing that was not an IED was March 22nd. That was one of our attachments. Lance Corporal Dang got killed from an RPG from Fox Company. And then the first KIA was March 30th from an IED.
Okay, so less than 30 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's wild because I've never gotten this granular in thinking back, but it's a neat exercise in thinking down to the day or week of when we got there. It's like, wow, because I would have almost thought, if you asked me, I would have thought it was earlier than March, right? Like February. But yeah, no, it's just all that stuff took a long time leading up.
Yeah.
Jeez. Um, Yeah, no, I think being that, like you said, with a weekend, we've already seen our first IED. I think Lieutenant Crawford, right, even before IEDs, I think he was very concerned with bringing everyone in the platoon home. Um, so that you could ask anyone else in the platoon, man, we were a lot of left, right, left, right, left, right.
Yeah.
So that sticks out right from the get go. Um, and just your eyes are right. You're watching everything. It was just a lot all at once.
Yeah.
That's what what sticks out is in just third world country, right? Like one of my biggest takeaways from the military is just right, like appreciating prior to that, you take so much for granted, and so it's like you're not there very long at all, and you're like, holy cow, like we've got it good. Like this, this is a felt like a different planet.
Yeah.
Ugh. What else? Yeah, and then food, of course. You know, you're adjusting to MREs a lot more than just from training exercises. Um,
Yeah. Did you end up eating a lot of MREs?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember trading with people all the time. Like for the stuff that you want.
Nice.
I think
Yeah.
by the time we had gotten over to Ramadi, I had eaten enough MREs that I don't think my last 2 years I ate the main meal of an MRE but once.
See,
And
that's
so I would rat fuck the shit out of the MRE and be like, all right, I'm having the crackers and maybe the dessert.
dude,
Give me the fruit. I would eat the fruit.
I think that comes from being locked down in Okinawa or something, because I did the same thing. I almost never ate MREs over in Ramadi because I refused. I'd rather starve. I fucking hated those things.
I
But those
still physically can make my stomach turn thinking about we had like a I don't know 0 to 300 mission, and I just wake up and 10 minutes before we leave, just eat a chicken teriyaki right out of it, cold,
Oh,
and just
oh,
feeling like
Jesus.
ass the rest of the day. Like I still like
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
good times.
especially when it wasn't even real meat. It was chicken product, and so
Yeah.
like it was the lips and asshole of a chicken, and so like,
Yeah.
So here's another one too that sticks out right from the beginning is the mosques. Hearing like the first morning you wake up there and you hear the music playing, right? Like or
Yeah.
music. The them the chants and the
The call to prayer. Yeah.
yes, yes. Man, that was I remember hearing it the first time and thinking, wow, like the movies are pretty accurate.
Yeah.
um yeah, it's I'm kind of stunned thinking about like thinking back how it was just so much to consume, you know?
mm,
Right.
It was a lot to consume. Before we started recording, you guys said something to the effect of just, a lot of people talk about a lot, right? Like how
Mhm.
much it hits you, and for sure.
Well, and also it just people don't understand your particular timeline, right? You were a civilian the year prior. You went to boot camp midsummer. You did infantry school fall and winter. And then you suddenly got to your unit in January, right before, and you were in combat within 4 to 6 weeks of being at your unit. Right? That's an extremely fast timeline. And you were literally transitioning about 1,000 things all at the same time.
Yeah, and it's like you can't you, you can't you can't plan methodically war out, right? Like you can
No,
practice,
no, yeah,
but it's
no.
like once they knew, okay, like the powers above, right? Like they're planning things out, and it's like, all right, we're sending 2-4. Like that all started happening so fast that it like this wasn't just a thing of like young adults, like young kids out of high school. It's all the way up to Booker and Glenn, like
Mhm.
that every stinking, swinging dick was consuming at rapid fire a lot super fast, right? Like, yeah. And, just sitting here thinking about it, it's making me dizzy thinking about it now because I haven't quite thought about it
Well,
in
and
so
here I'll
long.
add it, and we've talked about this before, but I'll add it for your purpose. It's important to also recognize that when we went over, we we were entering into a phase of war that hadn't been seen since Korea, which is which is sustained urban combat. And so our spin up was almost zero. If it was just kind of like, well, the last time we did this in any kind of real way was 50 years ago. Good luck, Godspeed. You're going to have to figure this out on the fly. And on top of that, we didn't know we were going specifically to Ramadi, but 2.5 months prior.
No,
And
less
so
than that. Less than that. We
that's
thought we were
fair.
going. We
Oh,
thought
wait,
we were
you're
going
right.
to. We thought we were going to Habanilla. Was the original plan, which is
That's right.
a city a tenth of the size of Ramadi. It's a resort town, not even anywhere close to that.
So when did we find out, like after that, when did we find out about Ramadi?
My recollection was it was a week prior to flying. It was February 10th, 12th, something like that.
So
We've
if
talked to a few other people and officers as well. They seem to think it was Kuwait that we figured out we were going to Ramadi.
Dang. And then how close to when we flew to New Jersey, how close to that was March Air Force Base? What was the window of time between March Air Force Base and then, jumping on a bird to go over to
five
Kuwait?
weeks.
The
How
training,
many?
yeah, 4 or 5 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty
Uh,
short. I'll have to look back. Oliver North has some dates on his videos and stuff. I'll take a closer look. But yeah,
okay.
it was pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, man, to do this 30 times already, you guys are redoing it like frequent. Like this is just me doing it, like to this sort of granularity. Like it's got to be wild from your all's lens, um, to
Oh
keep
no,
piecing it
Nile
together.
Nylan and I talked. I mean, as we discussed a little bit before we jumped on here, but like we'd been kicking this pig around for 20 years already, and I've done a lot of reading. I've picked up every single book that has ever been written about this time period, and have read it, and it still is amazing to me. Every single time we have one of these conversations, someone brings up something that I had not known or had forgotten, and it's just adding these extra pieces. And it's just the complexity of the situation is still. We knew this going into this podcast, that when we stood this up, that one of the reasons why we wanted to do it in this format, it allowed everyone, because the only way to tell the story is from multiple different angles, because everybody knew something a little bit different, and there was such a level of complexity, not just of our unit, but of where we were going at the time that we were doing it. And so it has been the only reason why we've been able to get to this granularity is because we've been doing this now pretty consistently with these conversations for 3.5 months now. But even
You
before
know,
that,
and it kind of makes sense too with what you mentioned about the time period with Vietnam and content, right? Like that echoes it, right? That
Yeah.
like these conversations take time, and the synergy of like, you know,
absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah. So it's
Yeah.
starting to make more sense of like why there's a certain type of sweet spot for, things to flush out and just, it all to kind of happen.
And just to point out, somebody brings up something new every single podcast. You're the first person to bring up that traffic circle. I hadn't thought about that traffic circle in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's a huge it's a huge thing. Like it doesn't seem like a huge thing, but it really is like painting the picture like, oh, you came right out of the gate and you ran into a traffic circle, which is crazy as hell.
Yeah.
Oh, and we're coming out against traffic. I mean, it wasn't even that it dumped
Yeah.
out with the flow of traffic. We were getting pushed into oncoming traffic to come back around to pick up. Anyways,
yeah, yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about some of those early missions. Do you have a specific memory of your first engagement, your first IED, first time that you had to shoot back, or is that really like the sixth and the seventh time frame?
Yeah. So I think the first one for me was we were doing a night mission and we were going down along the canal. All 6 vehicles. We weren't broken up. We were the lead vehicle and we were going into a snake turn and the IED detonated behind us. I'd say closer to our Humvee versus the second to give you kind of like it wasn't a perfect
Sure.
split. But we were lights out, and so I whited out, and I was in the middle of a snake S turn. So I'm judging. I'm trying to judge when to straighten the wheel, and the on that canal, there's like a 5 foot kind of embankment.
Yep.
And so I ended up going off the embankment a little bit, damn near flipped the Humvee. And, Pete's up in the gun and luckily it didn't flip. But as soon as we slid down, Peterson disengages that 240, runs out in the middle of the street, lays it on the ground and just starts opening up. And but it was wild too, because I can remember when I'm whited out, I think the shrapnel probably hit the power lines because you could see sparks from like the power lines through your whiteout. It was just kind of this unique kind of everything's white, but you can still see these other contrasts of light coming in. Um, and I just remember running out and laying down in the street too, me and Kern, and you're so pissed off because you can't find a fucking target. You can't see somebody running away with a rifle and just dropping them for that satisfaction, Um, and I think that's a story of a lot of us, right? Of those 9 months or whatever, is so many times you've got these people, inflicting harm, and you can't finish the job.
Yep.
We're trained to kill. And it's so that was my first taste, and it was like foreshadowing of what the next 9 months was going to be like, of just like, you better get used to it because this is how it goes.
Yeah.
I know. I really appreciate you pointing out that I don't know if the best word is the impotent feeling, but that was this like that was one of the hardest emotions to navigate that entire time. Was sometimes you got to whip it on and you felt, that catharticness of like, I'm doing my job. I'm, we've balanced things back out. But more often than not, there was like that, again, I don't know if impotent is the right word, but that feeling of, I have no place to put my anger, frustrations, my training.
Yep.
Yeah.
I appreciate you calling that out.
Yeah, because it's like, and luckily nobody was harmed in that engagement, right? But it's like, it's even worse when you're seeing, bloody brothers but even when in a situation like that, no one's hurt and you're just pissed off. You're just like, motherfuckers, you know what I mean? Like you hit a cell phone button and off you go. It's just so easy. So yeah, that one sticks out. Um, and Crawford was pretty pissed off at me uh, because when I slid down that embankment a little bit, I never put it in park. So my ass jumped right out of the Humvee and it didn't move, luckily. But like, somehow he had the wherewithal to look over and he threw it in park himself, So he schooled me up a little bit on having a clue. But because you're ready to like, kill somebody, right? So
Right?
like,
Let's whip it on,
like
baby.
I forgot park. um so yeah, that there I remember a skirmish down at the soccer field, right? But it was concrete. What was the area where it was a field, but yet it wasn't like the dirt, it was
that
just straight up
that was
concrete.
that was the military reviewing stands. And the only reason why I remember this because I know which engagement you're talking about. I remember seeing a video of you specifically in this engagement.
Yes, yes. And it sucked because the way our Humvee ended up positioning, I think what happened was being the lead, we came in and chose this first spot, and a lot of the rest of the platoon kind of passed on, creating a perimeter. And so where everything's happening, we're tail end Charlie, and I didn't like the way Pete was. Pete's locked on to everything happening in front of him, and I just felt like it was a perfect situation for someone to come up from behind and just get us. So like that skirmish is me protecting our rear end, and it just sucked because they're up there getting some, and I'm back here, in the rear. But it was wild because I remember, man, like those rounds were cracking that wall behind me,
Yeah.
and it's just these sounds that for the rest of your life stick with you, right? Like,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
and some like how they say sometimes pictures don't do things justice, like a movie will never replicate that in my head, like will never quite
Right.
hit it just right. um so I remember that one feels relatively early on. um but I better tell this story before I forget. It was one I definitely wanted to tell. Um but uh and I have a feeling, unless Cackley might have broke it out. So it feels like somewhere at least middle, you got to the point to where you'd start splitting the platoon up in half, right? You might take 3 trucks one place, 3 trucks another.
Mhm.
And we had this night mission that it wasn't past midnight. It was more like 10, right? Like an hour or two after dark. And what was the purpose? Can't quite remember. I remember we split up and I'm with the truck, and it's not Michigan, but it's still a relatively busy back street, right? It wasn't like one of the tiny residential. It had some decent traffic, and me and Pete are with Peterson are with the Humvee. He's up in the gun. You know how it was. It's usually driver and gunner with the vehicle, and everyone else dismounts in dismount
Hmm.
situations. And lo and behold, here comes a car like behind us approaching the Humvee at a speed that wasn't slowing down. And like you could see it way down there. And as it gets closer, you hear the music. The music's just blaring, still not slowing down. And I'm at like literally I could just like lean against the back of the Humvee centered so that would mean Pete's right above my head, um, up in the gun. Still not slowing down, so much to the point to where I lift my rifle up. I'm watching him, still coming, still coming. It's like, all right, I gotta engage, right? Like, and we're waving our hands and yelling, and nothing's working. So the moment I take my safety off to pull the trigger, Pete pulls out his pistol. He doesn't even engage with his 2-4. He pulls out his pistol, So my best guess is 50 to 100 feet, right? Maybe more like 100. Pulls out his pistol, bam, bam, shot the guy right in the shoulder through the front windshield. And as soon as he hits him, it's I think a taxi, barrels off. And you're thinking this guy's trying to kill us. He's, is this he was just drunk. He was just drunk and clueless.
Yep. Jamming to some tunes.
Mister, help me, help. And I mean, perfect shot though, through the shoulder. And, the ambulance came and took care of him. But from that day, Peterson became Pistol Pete.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, literally, the safety just came off and I was just getting ready to squeeze that trigger. It was another moment of God damn it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So,
if you like what you've heard, this is a multi-part episode. Make sure you listen to the rest of the story.